There's a number the Reserve Bank quietly published last quarter that most people in Australia haven't seen. It's not complicated. Wages went up 3.4%. Prices went up 3.8%. That 0.4% gap on a $90,000 salary is $360 out of your pocket this year before you even pay rent. And rent went up 5.4%. This video is going to show you exactly where that money went, who it's hitting hardest, and what the next 18 months look like, according to the RBA's own forecasts. And your pay? It went up too, just not enough. That gap between what you earn and what everything costs just got officially confirmed by the Reserve Bank of Australia. And what the data actually says about the next 12 to 18 months is something most people haven't fully processed yet. Before we dive in deeper, hit subscribe and hit the bell to ensure that you never miss out on any of my essential stuff. Let's get into it. All right, guys, let's go through it clearly. The Australian Bureau of Statistics released its Wage Price Index for the December quarter of 2025. Nominal wages, meaning your pay before accounting for prices, grew by 3.4% over the year. Inflation for the same period, 3.8%. That's a 0.4 percentage point gap. In dollar terms, for a median full-time worker earning roughly $90,000, that's around $360 in lost purchasing power over the year. Before housing costs. Now here's the part that puts it in perspective. Real wages, meaning what your income actually buys, fell for the second consecutive quarter in 2025. Over the full calendar year, real wages declined by approximately 0.3%, and they are currently sitting around 6% below their post-pandemic peak. The RBA didn't just observe this. They projected it. Their own forecasts show two separate real wage contractions between early 2026 and late 2027, one lasting 3 quarters, then a second beginning around March 2027. At the end of their forecast horizon in December 2027, real wages are expected to be only marginally above where they are today. To put a longer timeline on that, real wages in Australia are now back to the level they were around 15 years ago, comparable to 2010. That is not a short-term blip. That is a structural shift in what Australian workers can afford. When wages fall behind inflation in real terms, 3 things happen simultaneously, and they compound each other. First, rent absorbs a larger slice of income. As of the September quarter 2025, the average Australian renter is spending 33.4% of their gross income on rent. The decade average was 29.2%. The record low was 26.2%, reached in 2020. Renters are now paying proportionally the most they have ever paid, at a time when their real wages are falling. And it's accelerating. National rental growth re-accelerated to 5.4% annually as of January 2026, nearly 60% faster than nominal wage growth, and more than double the rate of CPI inflation. Second, savings get compressed. When more income goes to non-discretionary costs like rent, food, energy, and transport, there is less available for savings or debt repayment. For households already carrying mortgages or personal debt, the pressure tightens further. The RBA currently has the cash rate at 3.6%. Even with modest cuts expected later in 2025 or 2026, the reduction in mortgage repayments will be gradual, and for renters, rate cuts have essentially no direct relief mechanism at all. Third, the productivity link breaks down. The RBA has signaled clearly that without a meaningful lift in productivity, wage growth will ease to around 2.9% by late 2026, below where it is now and below the current inflation rate. This means the real wage problem is not expected to self-correct. It is expected to drift lower. For household budgeting over the next 6 to 18 months, the realistic scenario is rents continue rising faster than wages, savings rates stay compressed, and purchasing power remains below pre-pandemic levels. Not everyone experiences this equally. Let's be specific. Renters, especially new ones. Australia's national rental vacancy rate was at 1.7% as of January 2026, well below the 3% level considered balanced. In major capital cities, new renters entering the market are immediately exposed to record advertised rents. In Sydney, the median house rent is $780 per week. Units average $750. For a single person on the median wage, that's over 45% of gross income before tax. For long-term renters who haven't moved, the situation is more stable, but only until lease renewal. When a lease changes hands, it resets to market rates. And market rates have risen approximately 43% over the 5 years to early 2026. Migrants and international arrivals. This is worth stating plainly, because many people watching this are either new to Australia or planning to move here. Arriving without an Australian credit history, without an established employment record, and without months of rent saved upfront is a significant structural disadvantage in this market. Landlords in a tight market with sub 2% vacancy do not need to take risk on applicants without local history. The competition is real. Some applicants are attending more than 20 inspections without success in cities like Melbourne and Sydney. This is not anecdote. It is the current operating reality of those markets. Average households, specifically those in the private sector. Public sector wages grew at 4% in the year to December 2025, marginally ahead of inflation. Private sector wages grew at 3.4%, below inflation. If you work in finance, retail trade, arts, or professional services, your sector posted some of the weakest wage growth recorded. That means the real wage cut is unevenly distributed. Private sector workers are absorbing more of the loss. First-home buyers. Purchasing has not become meaningfully more accessible. While interest rate cuts have slightly improved borrowing capacity, property prices have not declined in any major city. The RBA's rate reductions have been modest, and the same structural supply shortage that drives rents upward also supports property prices. The median Sydney home is now over $1.5 million. The deposit barrier alone, typically 10 to 20%, is several years of savings at current incomes and savings rates. For renters trying to save a deposit while paying record rents on falling real wages, the maths moves against them with each passing year. Here is what the data says, without interpretation. Australian wages are growing, but prices are growing faster. That gap means the average worker can buy less with their income today than they could last year, and less than they could in 2020. The Reserve Bank's own forecasts show no expectation of real wages recovering to pre-pandemic levels within their forecast window. Rents are rising at 5.4% annually, more than twice the rate of wage growth, with vacancy rates at historical lows. The average new renter is spending 1/3 of gross income on rent. In Sydney, that figure is closer to 45% for a single-income household. The people most exposed are those entering new leases, those newly arrived in Australia without rental history, those in lower-wage private sector industries, and those trying to save toward property ownership while renting. The structural factors driving this, limited housing supply, demand above historical norms, and sluggish productivity, are not resolved by wage policy alone, and the RBA has indicated no real wage recovery is expected through to at least the end of 2027. That is what the numbers say. Not a prediction, not a political position. That is what the published data shows. So here's what I want to ask you directly. Are you living this right now? Is your rent going up faster than your pay? Did you come to Australia expecting something different from what you found? Or are you someone planning to move here, recalculating whether the numbers still work for you? Drop it in the comments. I read them. And if there's a specific city, a specific visa type, or a specific industry you want me to dig into, tell me. Because the aggregate numbers matter. But so does what's actually happening on the ground, in your city, in your situation. If this video gave you a clearer picture, consider subscribing. This channel covers exactly this kind of economic ground, without the noise.